group will be exploring this reality in Guyana by examining the language we use in different settings, the attitudes attached to them, and how these experiences related to the ENG 1105 course. So, what language is spoken at home in Guyana? And by whom? In many households, including mine, the language most used in everyday interaction is the Guyanese Creole. Simple expressions such as, you eat yet, medehe, or what happened. However, is Creole the only language spoken at home? The answer is no. Standard English also plays an important role, especially in situations related to education and discipline. When children are being corrected, helped with homework, or encouraged to prepare for school, parents often switch to Standard English saying things like, speak properly, or have you finished your assignment? This raises an important question. Why does this switch happen? It happened because many Guyanese families associate Standard English with intelligence, respect, and future success. Attitudes then exist towards language in the home. At home, Creole is valued for connection and comfort, while Standard English is valued for formality and progress. These attitudes do not remain confined to the home. They extend in public and institutional spaces. When I think about school, church, and the workplace, I ask myself, which language is expected there? How does this affect students like me? When we enter the ENG 1105 course, we realized that although we could communicate effectively, academic English demanded a higher level of formality, structure, and precision. This experience highlights the importance of understanding language, attitude in Guyana, and how they shape the academic performance. This introduction sets the foundation for discussing these experiences further and for offering recommendation on how the University of Guyana can better support students navigating multiple language varieties. Thank you.
Greetings everyone. I'm Mr. Denson, welcome, and today I'll be discussing with you how language is used in and out of my home. So I am from region number 2, where the majority communicate using the Guyanese Creole language. In my home, we also communicate using Guyanese Creole language, which we all are comfortable with, and it helps us to get out the message that we're trying to send our information more easily. However, my father is from the Pernun River, and they have a different way in which they speak. Like say, for example, he needs us to refill the ice water bottle. We know this is a crisis in every household. Drinking the ice water, you want full back the bottle. He wouldn't say the word bottle. You say, go along and full back the buckle. Full back the ice water buckle. Right? So he say buckle instead of bottle. Then I also have a nephew who speaks this Guyanese Creole language. And now this boy does speak sometimes. So one time he was saying to my niece, she was coming out, he was like, going backside. I said one time I did tell the girl about what kind of backside tell the girl about? Now if you ask me if I detect any particular attitude to the language at home, I would say yes. You see when mommy gone in any public places, or she got go in an office or school or so, man look, one is where this English girl come from with all them patos she just say using in the house. Alright? So I find she does the code switching, depending on whatever situation. Now also at my school, yes, we'll have the teachers, when communicating, we will use the standard English, but sometimes the part will go come in where the part will go come in. Abby and I. Now that the children feel comfortable using the Guyanese Creole, that is just why I respond to them. That is how we gonna talk. And then to grab their attention, you know what I just do? I go in my little Jamaican language, I'm gonna start to speak my little Jamaican, and then I go over to Trinidad and say, oh, you sit down and do the work. And if I'm in hearing, I go all the way to a Indo English speaking person. How do I do that? I told you to put your pencil on the table. Take out your books and let us start to do some grammar. Everybody start laughing, everybody get, everybody want to know. Coming in to see what is actually happening. Now, with this ENG 1105 course, I've gained a lot. I've learned especially how to deal with children in the same situation. How to bridge their home language with the standard English. Not forcing them to move away from their home language. However, by helping them to, transition a little bit more into the standard English, because how these children speak, that is just something alright. Now, if you ask me what recommendations will I give to the University of Guyana to better deliver this ENG course, for me, I didn't have any bad experience with the course or with the lecture. And I believe that with good lecturers, we can become well-rounded teachers and we will be better able to deal with situations relating to the use of English language.
My name is Afro, and I will be elaborating about language. during my own time and at work, which is school. Now, home, my home language. Now, I must start off to say, English is not my friend, right? As a born Guyanese, I mostly use Creolese, especially wherever I'm comfortable with at or so. Now, at home, I'll use an example. Let's say we have some foreigners coming at the home or so. Yeah? Yes, they're born Guyanese or so on, right? But they're gonna come home with them fancy language. I didn't do that or I didn't this or I'm not discriminating or anything, but when it comes to foreigners coming around in your house now and you home here in Guyana, trying to be around them and at the same time, you're trying to live up a little under them. So what I mean by living up, you don't want to sound too brawling around them. You want to sound a little well educated or so. But which the fact I think nobody should have a problem with whatever language you speak or so, right? But you just try to get yourself up and speak properly around them. So most guys home I feel that is happy, right? You don't try to bring out a rock or Creolese or so, right? Bear in mind they know we have Creolese as a language or so. So but at the same time, you just try to sound normal around them whenever you speak in the language or so. So these attitudes towards whatever language people speak or so, I don't feel it should be a problem. And so on, as people express themselves in the way, they feel comfortable with. But you see, if, let me say, these foreigners leave and them in the house no more, you go to every house and you hear things like, y'all want you, or I bring nothing from a peltry with, with something, certain things like that, which is Creolese, right? We mostly use Creolese at home and so on. So your family, you're more comfortable to speak around them raw and so on, right? And I feel because I feel children and small children is hear more better, like because if you try to come to a child in Guinea and talk to them like normal, well, we do have disciplined children that usually listen to standard English and so on when you speak to them. But my home, that little try there is hard. So sometimes it's definitely got to use the Creolese for them because they understand better. And then we have outside of my home. And in this case, I'll use school, right? Yes, school. Normally, like when we have general staff meeting or so on in school, and let's say you got to do like the reading of a minute or something when we have a meeting at school, and you got to speak in front of the entire staff or so. Of course, you would want to use like standard English and so on, right? Because you gotta start in front of Creolese and stand up in front of the class and start speaking a lot of Creolese and so them teachers gonna watch you like, really? So you got to use a little standard English or so there to do your work or so. But I tell you, when it comes to my classroom, you get some children that's if you speak to them, it doesn't if you speak even if you speak the perfect English, they still won't listen. Or let's say if you're teaching a lesson or so, you try to use a perfect English and so on, especially certain areas we come from. We have some students, when you speak in standard English and so on, they do watch like, what is Miss trying to say, right? So in order in a school, you need to like calm down to children level or so, right? So I don't recommend perfect English or standard English all the time in a classroom. Yes, one of the time you want to sound educated or so, right? You're gonna speak your perfect English or so, but sometimes you got to break it down in order to some children learn. You got to break it down to suit them, right? Also when I'm around my colleagues, like some main friends that I have in school or so, obviously them getting perfect English from me, right? And so I don't get it the same perfect from them either, right? We use the same Creolese and talk with each other. Now, my experience in the English 1105 course, I must say it's a great experience so far. The way the lecturers my lecturer would bring out the information to us. It helps a lot around in the classroom or so. And how do I cope with it? Well, to me, you definitely got to cope with it. You don't have a choice. You got to cope because, you want something for yourself. You want a great future ahead of you. So you got to like put aside certain things and have things done to get your grades or so, right? But I don't think the demands will be too much, right? It's at each and every teachers or whoever's studying at the university level, right? So I just always tell myself there's nothing that you can do, right? And what do I recommend to the University of Guyana? In relation to this course, I feel, if we have 1 and 2 in-person sessions and so, I'm not saying we should have it like all the time, right? You can have like 1 and 2, you reach out more better to the teachers or whoever's studying at the university. You reach out more better to them, you know where they at or so. And that's it from me. Thank you.
My name is Karti Vanal. I am from Region 9. So I will be doing the statement about their English language experience in the ENG 1105 course. So my experience in the ENG 1105 course, it mostly helped me in strengthening my English language skills, especially reading, writings, and communication. Through the discussion, it helped us write our assignments and also give feedback from other colleagues and so on. I learned how to organize like ideas to help me in grammar, vocabulary, in confidence in writing essay and so on. Good. So I will move on to how did you cope with the demand in this course for the use of English. So with the cope or the demand of the use in English in this course by participating regularly and paying close attention and feedback from the lecture. I made an effort to read academic materials, observe formal language structures, and apply them in my writing. I also receive my work carefully, focusing on grammar, sentence structures, and appropriate grammar vocabulary. When I was unsure, I asked questions and used available resources such as notes and examples provided in class, and examples and so on, or the strategies helped me to become more comfortable and confident using English in my assignments and in class breakout rooms and so on. The second point, what would you recommend to the University of Guyana in relation to use of English course? Good. For me, I would recommend that the University of Guyana continue to strengthen the use of English course by making it more practical and supported for students. Included guided practice, examples, writing skills, opportunities, one-on-one feedbacks would help students better understand how to use formal English confident. You can give them more examples. It could be like, for me, face-to-face would be more better for me, being there, but I like here we're doing online thing and it's kind of difficult. So yes, it helps in grammar, vocabulary. It improvements would make the course more engaging and help students feel more prepared for their other university courses. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Sir Tridale Walcott, and today I'm here to talk to you about languages or language that we would use in our home in our country, Guyana. So, what language do we speak when we're at home? So, at home, we usually speak two different languages, right? So, we have our first language, which is the Guyanese Creolese language, and we also have the Standard English. And most of the time, we as Guyanese would usually use the Guyanese Creolese. So, our mommy or daddy or any family member, whether it be your grandfather, grandmother, your siblings, anyone would usually talk the Guyanese Creolese language. But we also use the English language, or we say the Standard English. But when do we use this? We usually use this like when we're reading from a storybook, or if we're doing homework with the children. If the parents are talking about school or work, something related to work or school, we usually use Standard English, or that comes into play there. So in some homes, your grandpa might use some old-time words, like, for example, some Indian mix-up words or Creole and English, right? So in some places, people might talk an Amerindian language as well, which have like a different voice or accent to it. So in plenty Guyanese homes, children grow up hearing Creole and Standard English together, which both of them comes in as an important role in our everyday lives. So how people feel about language at home. So in plenty homes, people just have a strong feeling about how children talk. So most parents feel that Creolese is okay to talk at the home because that's how they grow up, that's what they know. But when it comes to school, parents tell the children that you have to talk with English, you have to learn to speak properly. Don't talk like that in school, right? You got to know how to speak when you're at work or when you go out to certain places. So some children get praised when they talk English, but get correct when they talk Creole. That shows that plenty of adults feel English is more important than Creole, especially for school and getting a job. But what do I think personally about this is that I feel that it is good for children to learn Standard English, but also it's important for us to not knock out our culture, which is our first Guyanese Creolese, because that is also important, right? That is the language children understand the best, and it comes from our culture, it comes from our home. So children should learn both, right? Even the parents, both of the languages are important, both Creolese and Standard English. Thank you very much.